Of all of the DLC maps on Maddening that I've heard people having the most issue with, beyond Tiki and her endless reinforcements, it has been Soren and his volcano map full of absolute nonsense. So today, seeing as how I recently cleared it myself in my first attempt, I figured I would talk about what worked for me so that maybe you can find success if you're struggling. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and in our continuing little mini-series of How I Beat Them videos, we're talking today about Emblem Soren's DLC map on Maddening mode, because, I mean, apparently this one is just nasty for people. I've had a lot of people in my community that are struggling with this map in particular. I was quite nervous going into it, honestly, because of the reputation that it had built up, and I'm not gonna lie, it is a tad nasty. But it wasn't as bad for me as I expected. Maybe because I went in very prepared, because I had heard that it was very scary. I didn't know what I was getting myself into until I got here, but overall, things worked out quite well. So, what are some of the key pieces of advice here that I have? First off, don't take the left side of the map. That rescue staff that thief picks off at the very beginning of the map, that's bait, mate. Don't go for it. It ain't worth it. Absolutely not. I refused. I refused right off the bat. I didn't go for it. My chat was like, oh, you gotta go get the rescue staff. Nope. Nope, I'm good. I am A-okay. There are other rescue staves. There are other rescue staves. I do not need this one. And I think that was the right decision. I let that go, and in so doing, I was able to move my whole team to the right-hand side, taking up a position in the much more enabling of movement area. If we look at the two combat arenas that we have here on this map, in terms of where you're going to be stationed for the majority of it, the right-hand side just gives you a lot more room to breathe. Without that room, especially as smoke starts coming in and due to the limitations of trying to keep units off of lava tiles and all that type of stuff, you're gonna be pincered way too easily. You're gonna be caught not having the room to maneuver, your units are going to get stuck, and it's going to be a bad time. By going to the right-hand side, there's only two real avenues of attack that you have to worry about. Whatever units decide to push up from the left-hand side and try to flank you, and then everything coming at you from directly south where Soren is. Yes, there are some flyers, but not enough to really pressure you too much, seeing as how they come in just little squads of 3. They're easy enough to lure in and pick off. And then you can just hold choke points. One of the key features of those choke points is the fact that in this arena, you can see at the back of it, there's a 3x2 lava square space, and at the bottom of it, there's a 3x2 lava square space. And you can use those as choke points to your advantage to force the enemy to take extra damage, either when they're fighting you or as they approach. So how did I go about doing this? Well, what I did was I kept my group together, and I pushed down as quickly as I could down into the right. I burned a lot of emblem attacks early, because due to the number of enemies on the map, I figured I would have plenty of opportunities to build emblem energy back up. You have 2 emblem energy pools in this arena as well, so that you can very easily grab, plus another one slightly further south that you can grab once you're ready to aggro Soren. And there's not that many enemies that push up behind you on the left, so I pushed forward very aggressively using things like Sigurd Louis and Alfred with Hector. We had Micaiah on Yunaka I didn't actually have to use at this point, which is good because it wound up becoming the key point of my strategy later. But having Micaiah to throw knives, Diamant with Roy to tank the front line, it was a very solid push, which was good. The two biggest things to consider when you're looking at this side of the map is that you have 2 knights with steel great weapons right off the bat, and that's a ton of damage, and you're going to have a very hard time dealing damage to them with anything other than magic or if you have a slayer weapon. And then there are 2 mages who will mess Louis or whatever armor unit you have up if you let them. So you have to, when you're ready to push and clear like all but one thing, or you're going to be in trouble. So you're going to want to make sure that you can do that. Shouldn't be too bad to do if you get set up. Again, you can kind of hang back behind the lava tiles or the magma tiles or whatever they're called. Let the enemy come to you, push forward, take them out. There will be some units that come around the left-hand side. I basically hung back with like Celine, Jade with Marth, and Lapis, and then I had Fram for extra healing. And they were able to clean up back there without too much issue. There's only 2 or 3 units that come at you at a time, and if you're able to clear even all but one of them, you'll be fine. Just don't let Fram or whatever healer you have get hit. You'll be fine. It all worked out a-okay. And that's considering I hadn't used Celine in multiple chapters, and she still was able to do more than enough damage to clear armor units for me, so it was not a big deal whatsoever. With the left-hand side taken care of, I was able to very easily secure my position on the right. I used some of my tankier units to lure in the Pegasi that start in the middle. You just got to watch for the one that has the Levin sword. That caught me off guard the first time, I'm not going to lie. You clear them out, and then you have this whole area to work with. I started using Camilla with Lapis to clear smoke as it started to come into the arena, kept it clear for me, and that kind of made it so that the smoke was working for me, because it was hindering my enemy's movements, it was hindering their defenses, without actually affecting me too much, since I was able to clear a 3x3 space every turn whenever I needed to. From there, I basically just let whatever enemies that were going to approach me approach, cleared them out, dealt with reinforcements as they came, and then once I was set up, units were healed, there wasn't a big swarm approaching us anymore, I had Emblem energy built back up, all that type of stuff. I used, I believe it was Diamant with Roy, you can see here in the footage, to pull Soren. And the thing to keep in mind here is, yes, bolting is scary. Soren's bolting tome is very scary, but it's not one-shot you scary unless you leave someone who really should not be on the front line at all in his range. What this means is that if you have a tanky unit that has decent mobility, like my Diamant with Roy, for example, you can use all sorts of characters for this, you can use them to pull Soren forward, because he will move up as far as he can to get in bolting range and hit them. Then you can do this again. Fall back the 5 spaces or whatever his move range is. Do it again. You can keep pulling him forward while keeping him on bolting and pulling him closer to the overall army that you have set up. Now, this could become a problem if you're planning to try and pull him all the way to you, because eventually he's just going to sit out of your range and keep spamming bolting on you. Doesn't have any usage. He can just use it forever. There's no limit. So you're going to have to push on him eventually. And what gets scary about that is when you aggro Soren, like most bosses, you aggro everything else on the map as well. So what I did, I used Diamant to pull Soren, started pulling Diamant back over the next couple of turns, and had my team waiting and ready to clear out enemies as they moved into my range. That started to get a little tricky, I'm not going to lie, once Soren was really far closer than I would like, but it only took a couple of turns to clear out enough enemy units to put my plan into action. What was my plan? Well, I talked about it before. I came to the conclusion that the best way to handle Soren here was going to use the classic, the Micaiah rewarp bomb. So what I did was I set up Yunaka in a position where on the next turn she would be able to rewarp into range of Soren once I had pulled him forward enough. Then I took my strongest combat units, arranged them around Yunaka, 4 of them, because, when you have Micaiah, you are able to engage. That increases your staff range, like the actual effect range, meaning that when you rewarp with your engaged Micaiah user, it warps everyone around her in a plus-shaped formation as well. Very strong. Very, very good. If you didn't know about that, it's a strategy I've used to good effect a lot. This is just one example of it. So I got all my units in place. I had any other units that would be able to quickly get into place do so. I had warp set up. I had Louis with Sigurd ready to go, all that type of stuff. And we just alpha struck Soren. Again, you can see the footage here. Now, what's annoying is that even though he's supposed to be a squishy wizard, Soren is actually defensively quite resilient. Even his actual defense value, we're not just talking res, but his actual defense is way higher than I expected it to be when I first went in. So it did take some concentrated fire to bring him down. But I mean, at the end of the day, he still can't counterattack because I kept bolting on him. So he couldn't attack back, get health using his flare skill, anything like that. He was just a sitting duck, and it was very easy to double him because the bolting tome is so heavy. So you can see who we used to get this done here. First things first, I waited for the smoke to build up enough that Soren would actually be likely to move into range of it, which brought his defense and his res down by 5 apiece, and he did just that. Again, this is the benefit of having Camilla when you do this map, or if you have Karin or something, you could do the same thing. You'll be able to clear the smoke while it continues to choke out the enemy. This was hugely beneficial. I mean, that's just so much free damage. So I waited until Soren was being affected by the smoke. It kind of wound up as a happy accident, but again, with the whole clearing smoke thing, it was a core aspect of the strategy, even if I wasn't actually thinking about it as much at first. First things first, I warped in Clan, who was using the Olwen ring for Dire Thunder, to take out one of the fabrications that was basically standing guard over one of Soren's flanks. That would make it much, much easier to actually rewarp in and get all of my units to him, which is very nice. After Clan opened the way, I then went in with the rewarp bomb, bringing in Alfred, Diamant, Chloe, and Lapis. And I mean, this is probably the strongest strike force that I could put together here in the time constraints that I had. Because I obviously wanted to take advantage of the fact that Soren was in the smoke. I didn't want to give him the chance to move because it would be infinitely harder to bring him down if we did. And I mean, you can see here at this point, between being in the smoke, between my units having their engages up, all that type of stuff, we are starting to deal a lot of damage here. And I mean, I can just let it play out. There's really not a whole lot else that I need to say in terms of the actual Soren slaying. Check this out. My God, look at that damage. That right there, that's tasty. That's real tasty.
Me first.
Boom. Then, oh, I don't know. We have, say, Chloe come here.
Here.
Nice,
You're
Lapis.
like a storybook hero.
Oh, Soren, where's all your health going, buddy? What happened to all your big strats? You big, craggy-brained lad. Well, apparently you're a bit of a smooth brain since you parked your ass in the -5 defense smoke.
Me first. Over here.
All right, Louis. Carry us home, good sir. Done. G jiggity.
I'll help.
Not done.
Boom.
That was...
First try. Let's go. Woohoo. Definitely doing a video about that one. That worked out really well. Nice. He just felt bad for you was all. Of course, yeah. And with that, Louis brought him down. It was that easy. Again, this is my first attempt at this map. I was really not expecting it to go as well as it did once I saw what we were up against, but I did have the advantage of, having done this map in Radiant Dawn before. All these DLC maps are from the Emblem's respective games, much like the regular paralogs and the base game are. So I at least was accustomed to some of the shenanigans that could happen on this map. At the end of the day, if you don't have a Micaiah available to you at the point in your run where you're trying to get Soren, this might be more difficult, but I think so long as you have a method of clearing the smoke, either via Karin or by Camilla, then you'll be in a better position at least. Because again, you can force the enemy to be affected by the smoke while making yourself essentially immune to it, as long as you're willing to dedicate your Dragon Vein user to that. Which, I mean, there's really no reason not to. It's just a clear-cut advantage at that point. If you don't have Rewarp and you don't have Micaiah, you're going to have to wind up pushing up on Soren, which again is going to be painful. But so long as he's staying at range and hitting you with bolting, and you're just keeping whoever his preferred target is healed up, you can then take the opportunity to use the rest of your team, pick off all the other units that are charging at you once you've aggroed Soren, and that'll give you at least a lot more room to then push up on him afterwards. And I mean, if you can clear out the other units, then you're pretty much in the clear to just attack Soren as much as you want to. So it shouldn't be impossible. It will be probably more difficult, but if you're later in the game, you don't have Micaiah available, then you definitely have more units that you can use as well. You have more flyers who will be massively beneficial. You'll have other emblems that'll be able to help you with things, again, like Karin. You'll have dancers with Seedall, most likely, Byleth. So it's definitely feasible. It's definitely feasible. But that said, if you have any questions or you would look for any advice or anything like that, you can ask down in the comments. If you have any strategies that you utilize that were really good, again, drop it in the comments. And you can consider joining my Discord as well to chat with people about any and all strategies that you need to. But for now, though, I'm going to call this one here. I'll probably do Crom and Robin next, because that one was a little tricky as well. And then I don't know that the other maps really need to be covered. Hector and Veronica were pretty simple, but if you want to see it, let me know. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.